All right, so we were just having a discussion about everything that's going on in the playoffs, everything that really the state championships could entail. I think we did everything but discuss some of the teams that could be involved. The bracket just got thinner. I don't care where you are. It's still football season. You might be watching basketball right now, but man, shame on you. Shame on you. It's still football season. It's the best part. Welcome to the Extra Point Podcast. I'm Mark Adams, Coach Cofield, Eddie Quinkers Jr., my partners for today. We got a special treat. We have, uh, I would say, one of the best in the business joining us later on in the show, Larry Bloomstein. Man, renowned high school football, just everything. Coming in from down South Florida way is going to be giving us some information about one of our critical matchups later. Coach, I'll let you make the introduction for Bloomstein. He has, accolades everywhere. I think he's been doing this for almost 50 years now.
Yeah, Bluestein been around a minute. Worked at different news, the Hallandale Digest, the Miami Herald. He's he is the expert in the state of Florida on Florida high school football, and he's been around. He's seen tons of championship games all over the state. He used to do a magazine where he visited dang near every part of the state and did this little thing. I think he had with Coca-Cola, where he made this big magazine on recruiting. I mean, he's done some of everything, man. When you want to know about high school football, you ask Larry Bloomstein. He's great source, great source.
Yeah, I'm gonna be looking forward to talking to him. He's got some great information for us coming up with a huge matchup. Man, it was it was an exceptional week of football last week. A little bit, I would just say for the particular area that we cover. I I was hoping we were going to get a couple of upsets in there. We had some teams that really fought hard down to the end. A couple of games came down to the wire. Man, our area did not fare in the way that I wanted to. I think we saw. So we thought. I think we saw somewhere close to about 8 teams that just kind of bit the dust in the playoffs. And man, it's always bittersweet. We've seen an incredible season from some of these teams. Just the level of talent is still unmatched. We saw probably, I would say, some games that I would just consider instant classics. And just, you just hate to see it come to an end like that, especially during the playoffs. I do feel like we had some teams in there that could have stretched it to the third round. I really do. But yeah, unfortunately, it just did not go our night for most of our teams. But we got a few that are still hanging on, and I'm really looking forward to the matchups we got coming up. Let's go ahead and jump into last week. Guys, I really, really think we saw the best week of football ever last week. One particular game, just stood out to me as like, I think they're going to be talking about this game for the next decade. Let's go ahead and take a look at the round number 3 scoreboard and just we had some we had I felt like we hung tough. I really did. I felt like we hung tough most of those games through 3 quarters, and just man, it just slipped away for a lot of teams in the area. You can see Mosley fell to Mainland in a really close ball game. And a lot of what I saw from just this Mosley team is that they went up against a really physical Mainland team, and it's really hard to win playoff games on the road, Coach.
Yeah, it's very difficult, especially the travel that you got. You're out of your routine. You get to a new place. They all excited. Fan base usually, predominantly home team. Kids in a different place they're not playing, and then anytime something go wrong, it kind of is magnified. So if you're a good team, you can get through it. If you're playing a real good team, you can't make any mistakes on the road. And I and and with Mosley, I thought it was a very close game. Maybe one or two things could have changed, and they could have won. But it's difficult. Mainland is a pretty good football team.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think one of the bigger things is just Mosley. I think they turned it over four or five times, and that'll kill you on the road.
yeah, absolutely, man. Turnovers, mistakes, miscues are definitely a nail biter. And when momentum is being built up, the last thing you want is for that to happen. One time is all it takes, as my dad would like to tell me back in the day growing up as a kid. One time is all it takes for something to change. And yeah, like turnovers and miscues are definitely something. And it was definitely a challenging night for Mosey on the road and other teams that we're going to talk about here shortly, especially our fair share of Tallahassee locals that went on the road to Duval County.
Yeah, moving on, in looking at Class 4A, Columbia actually led in this game up to the fourth quarter, and then they gave up 2 touchdowns to Choctaw, and the Big Green Indians stormed back, coming from behind at home in front of and really just, again, it's tough to go into a road environment and win one like that, but Columbia falls to Choctaw 20-27. It was almost reminiscent of what we saw in the Mainland game, just a real close matchup.
Yeah, Mark, this was kind of, I know Columbia was kind of upset. They were in the process, it was 2020, and they were driving. They threw a pick six, and then that's the difference in the game. So, one big mistake, and wasn't able to overcome that mistake by throwing that interception. And it hurts you throw an interception, but when you give up a pick six, it really it's a gut punch.
Yeah, a lot of what we've seen just in the playoffs in general is just how close these games really are. You really can throw out some of the records in these games. Moving on, Godby falls to Bishop Kenny. Eddie, we were watching this one pretty closely. At first, it was just trading punches back and forth, and then finally, Bishop Kenny just poured it on in the second half. And again, I think the bright spots were there in the beginning of most of these games, but just really not able to keep up.
Yeah, man. I mean, I was impressed of how close and within reach Godby was keeping it, with these two teams keeping it back and forth. However, though, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, we were keeping up to date with it. Not one time did I see Godby, I think, take the lead. That was the thing. They were keeping up with Bishop Kenny, but Bishop Kenny just found ways to still keep it out of reach and had to force Godby to work twice as hard on both offense and defense. And by the time Godby was able to perhaps establish a rhythm, it was too late. I mean, but still, I mean, you look at that score, 55-37, and what a season Godby has had. And now that you have a solid young core returning with playoff experience, I can't wait to see what this Godby Cougar team is going to look like next season and see what the offseason changes are going to be, through the rest moving forward.
Yeah, they went up against a really big physical team. Reminiscent, I think we had how many teams did we have go out to Duval? I think we had 3+.
Three, yes, we had three. Godby, Florida High, and McClay all went to Duval County at the same time, same night.
I think if you combine those teams together, create a super team, I think that team goes undefeated. But yeah, they just ran into really talented squads and very big squads. Like Bishop Kenny is a big team. So was Bowles. Florida High falling to the Bulldogs 51-27. And really just, Bowles jumped out early. I think they put up 20 points in the first quarter, never looked back. Eddie, we were also keeping up with that one. Similar to South Walton and Pensacola, Seahawks season comes to an end 34-7. Just again, these are teams that are, and I think this one in particular was a rematch because South Walton fared a lot better. Pensacola Catholic must have took notes and really clamped down defensively. Seahawks only good for one score in the first quarter.
Yeah, it's tough. Once again, I haven't in the past took a team into in Pensacola. That is not an easy place to win. They are tough and seem like it doesn't matter over the years, no matter who's playing, who's coaching. This is a tough place to go into, and they really put it to South Walton.
Yeah, you said it, Coach. I mean, to only have one score drive and then not look back the rest of the way, Pensacola Catholic, this team is on a mission and very determined to pursue championship.
Yeah, keeping it rolling. One of our other teams that hit the road on I-10 heading to Jacksonville. McClay's season also comes to an end, 56-28. And this one was, fairly close. I mean, a lot of what I saw was just McClay had a huge third quarter, putting up 21 points. I think it was 35-28 at one point. And just, man, when you talk about the Conquerors closing the door, another 21-point fourth quarter, and McClay had no answer. So for that one, just looking at again, being able to kind of have it in your grasp and not able to close out that fourth quarter just kind of dooms McClay's season again on the same field. I do like what McClay potentially could return next year. This is again, I think this team, for a lot of people in their minds, I think they overachieved. But as you watch McClay, I think they were pretty on par. They returned a lot of talent. They were very physical up front. And yeah, I do think the trajectory of this team is going to be, one where we're going to definitely have to keep an eye on. Taylor County, and this one was one, man, I was really hoping that the Bulldogs were going to be able to mount a comeback of some sort because, Eddie, we were watching this one, Pahokee and Taylor County. Taylor County actually took the early lead, and yeah, it just couldn't get going for the Bulldogs on the night where Pahokee comes in and sneaks out of Perry with a win. And you don't see that too often, but hats off to the Blue Devils. They played a great game. But yeah, Eddie, we were hoping that Taylor was going to answer in that one at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking the early lead. And then when Pahokee found a way to tie the game, it was 7-7 for a very long time. Taylor County, I was assuming, was doing all that they can to not let this Blue Devil team take off. But if you're not being able to get the ball back and score right away, your defense is going to get tired out. And something tells me that the defense gave it all that they could, and then Pahokee just found a way to just get back in the game, take the lead, and then winning it 17-7 over there in Perry, which sets up now a big matchup, which we're going to talk about later on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Think about the matchup. Some of the, on social media, I don't get anything started, but Hockey fans, they knew that they figured they'd be playing this game against this next week in Bluntstown, and they're a pretty confident bunch.
Yeah, I know that there was a lot of noise going back and forth, but it really led up to this, which is what I would like to call the main event of
Oh,
of the second
man.
round. Eddie, it was your first time out to Bluntstown. How'd you enjoy it?
Man, I must say this one, the experience of being in a town that shuts down for its football team brings joy to my heart. I'm from a place where is working its way to getting back to that again, and just seeing how early fans were showing up in tailgating and then showing up at the gate. Both stands filled up so quickly to where everyone stood alongside the fence, and it stretched all the way out to the field. I've never had this high school football experience before. I mean, I've been to good atmospheres like at Niceville, Escambia, here in Tallahassee at Gene Cox Stadium at a really good full house, or at JD Jones for Wakulla. But out there at Bulls Field, man, it was a different experience, man. And I enjoyed it very much, and especially the game that we were, play by play announcing. Man, it was one of those instant classics, and boy, we were in for a show that we got witnessed an amazing comeback and quite the big, I would say, controversy at the end. That last final play on that 2-point conversion, man, like you said, Mark, is going to be talked about for a very, very long time. I just watched the footage on it again like twice, and I'm like, wow, we really caught witness to that. And we were discussing about it even in our play-by-play announcing. Coach Cofield, I want to say you were watching from a view, man. I mean, your thoughts on how that game was?
Man, I love those kind of games. I think Madison went in there a little bit, I think they were kind of cocky, and I think they got hit in the mouth early, and they kind of lost their bearings in the first half. But when they straightened up, man, they made that a game. It was a tough matchup. Bluntstown seemed like they played the same way Madison did in the first half, and you talk about two big heavyweight fight. These two teams knocked it out, played to the end. It was a tough game, and that 2-point conversion made the biggest difference. And it was an exciting end. I mean, I couldn't keep my eyes off the game, man. I was like, man, this. I thought that Madison would bring it to that point. Not surprised at the result, but was totally impressed with Amari Thomas of Bluntstown. He was flat something special. I mean, goodness. I I know he was good, but I didn't know he was that good.
I think what really caught my attention was the defense of Bluntstown, how they were able to capitalize off of turnovers that they were making. 4 times in the game, we saw Madison County attempt for it on fourth down, and all of them resulting in a turnover, which led to scoring. Two of them being pick six.
Yeah,
Wow.
I to set the stage, I think what people need to understand is that this game started for the local fans. They were out there, I think, as early as 3:30.
Mm-hmm.
So you talking about the atmosphere being set. I think everybody needs to just kind of take in the moment about how just like I think just how crowded it was well before kickoff. One of the things I think that also set the stage was just the history between these two teams. You're talking about, the last four meetings between these two teams have decided state championships. There was twice that they met in Orlando to take to play for a state championship. They also met again up in Tallahassee. Mike Cole and his crew were en route to a three-peat, and each time the games have been high scoring affairs. You've seen just such a display of athleticism from both teams. I think in one state championship game, Bluntstown, even as a loser, they had one kid that scored 6 touchdowns. So you're talking about lighting up the scoreboard. I think we saw great displays from both teams, but really, Bluntstown was able to, I think, absorb what Madison County threw at them very early. You saw the Tigers really settle in, had a monster second quarter where they really jumped out to I would say they jumped out to almost a 22 point lead at one point. And we're in comfortable position going into the second half. But what do we know about momentum and shifts? Third quarter was all Madison County. I do think that one of the things I was impressed by was just the resiliency of the Cowboys. Their schedule and their scheduling proved to be effective because in a game like this, where I do think where Bluntstown was in unfamiliar territory, so was Madison County. But Madison County being in one of the one of their earlier games, they were in a situation like this where they were forced to mount a comeback. And I also think for Bluntstown, being able to find their rhythm is late in the fourth when it looked like Madison had everything going their way. They were able to really get back in the driver's seat after really just falling asleep in the third quarter and kind of put themselves back in position to win. And that's where we got pretty much where we were set up for what I think was an epic ending between these two schools. A lot of what we saw, there was controversy as Madison County tied things up and went for the extra 2 points. But this is the best I could do. A lot of what I've seen, and credit to Sean Wood out in Bluntstown sent us the footage. But this is how close it was, where we really you couldn't hear anything, but apparently the whistle blew, and that rendered the play dead. Was the call before, and really what was just his lineman pulling him across the goal line. Honestly, I think both sides had an argument, but at the end of the day, uh, yeah, Madison County, falls to Bluntstown. And what was really, you take a look at this final play, Coach.
There it is.
I could watch it a dozen times, and I still couldn't make out where exactly the whistle blew versus, where he was down. It's going to be one of those that's going to be talked about at least for the next 10 years.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, keep in mind. We said it on the broadcast. We don't have instant replay yet. We're years away from that. Who knows when? But my goodness, the referees and officials took their time on this one. Mark, we were patiently waiting. They took like a solid almost 2 minutes to discuss, because I think what the call was, we saw what it appeared to be like runners short. But I think one of the other officials was saying like he got it and raised their hands, and they were like, wait, what's going on? Hold up. Conversation, meeting. And that's where we saw Madison County celebrating all of a sudden after Bluntstown's hurrah. And we're like, wow, this is something. But of course, the call was upheld, and the rest, you already know. Yeah, what do you think, Coach Cofield? I mean, your thoughts on this ending? It was just crazy.
I hate to be the official. I know
Mm,
that you gotta make a call. I mean, look at all that carnage in there. You gotta figure it out, and somebody's gonna be unhappy no matter what you call. somebody's gonna be unhappy. It's rather you're talking about a game that came down to just that. Man, that's tough. I hate to be the official for that game.
Yeah, looks like I saw him. Looks like I saw Larry in the waiting room. We're gonna get through these next two games. Man, what an epic matchup between Bluntstown. Bluntstown prevails over Madison in probably the greatest second round match I've ever seen in these recent years. But Bluntstown moves on to the state semifinal, where they will take on Pahokee, who was a winner over Taylor County on the opposite side of the bracket. Madison County, for the first time in 3 seasons, will not be competing for a state championship. So uh, it's one of those where, man, you can see the trajectory of both programs. And I just urge everyone, you're going to see this matchup again. I think this is going to be one of those where you're going to be in a position where you're going to see something like a Lakeland and Aquinas, all those matchups they had over the years. Just line yourself up. This is going to be happening quite a few more times. Let's go ahead and get to the other matchups. Child's a big winner over Land O'Lakes. Timberwolves handle business pretty soundly. A lot of what we saw, man, this game could have been a lot worse for Land O'Lakes. Child's left easily 4 touchdowns on the board, but I think they were in cruise control and they handled business against Land O'Lakes pretty well. Last but not least, before we get through with everyone, we definitely want to take a minute and just go ahead and welcome our next guest, Coach Cofield. We have coming up Larry Bloomstein, popular high school football guru from across the state, been in the business for a very long time. And Coach, we're going to go ahead and welcome him to the show.
All right, looking forward to it.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, Larry, how you doing, man?
Johnny Cofield.
How you doing, man?
Like old days.
I'm telling you, man, we go way back.
Yep. Well, I appreciate you guys having me in. I know you've been hard at it looking at this region final week, which is going to be pretty interesting across the state. I could see that. And I was hitting Coach Cofield with a curveball today. Yesterday when we talked, I said the furthest state semifinal travel ever was back in 2000 when Tate had to go all the way down to Palm Beach County to play against Dwyer.
Wow.
648 miles. So now, if Pensacola Catholic upsets Bowles, they will host a team from Miami in the state semifinals, which is 709 miles for a state semifinal.
Jeez.
Wow.
It's a big if, though, because Bowles is a beast.
Yeah,
So,
I know.
They are.
I'm about to say, you have to take a flight for that one.
Yeah. Well, Pahoke's got to come up and play Bluntstown, and that's not an easy little.
One of the things that we saw, one of the things about just, and I mean, it's almost like ridiculous at this point. Just we talked about just the history between both schools. I think they met in the state championship some years back, and I had a chance to just kind of talk to people from both sides. I got family in Belle Glade that's familiar with Pahokee. Just man, how does physicality and speed match up one-on-one? Because I think that's the strength of both of these teams right now.
Well, Pahokee, remember now, Bluntstown's kind of a really rural area. Now it's kind of odd that Belle Glade Central, which is 8 miles from Pahokee, is not a rural area. Go figure that out, how that happens. And Pahokee, most of their kids come from, Palm Beach County, like Wellington and all those areas like that. But Pahokee always brings it. They are just a small school, I'm sure, just like Bluntstown, but they don't have Bluntstown probably doesn't have as many athletes available to them as Pahokee does. But that being said, I think that you look at Bluntstown, and Johnny and I were talking, Coach Cofield and I were talking about this. They probably have more over the last 2 years Power 4 kids than any smaller area. like Weehawken or Port St. Joe or Mariana or any of those areas, because they have a kid going to Florida State now. And last year, their defensive tackle came down to Miami, who was really good, because when Coach Johnson was there at Bluntstown before he went to Coffee County, he told me that that kid may be the best player they ever had there. And, you take a
Wow.
look at them and some of the areas, I mean, we know that Madison County, obviously, and what a great job Coach Harris did. I mean,
Yeah.
that guy took on everybody. I mean, he did. I mean, he played DeLand, he played Reigns, he played everybody, and they fell short. They probably just didn't. They probably wore out at the end. But you got to give them a lot of props, and certainly. But that being said, over the years, even though they were a Class 1A team or a rural team, they could have been a 4A team for sure. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, you don't get Geno Hayeses and all those type of guys coming out of Bristol Liberty County very often. So yeah, they got dudes over the years, and but no, there's some pretty good teams, and obviously Choctaw coming out of the Panhandle, and Beasley's done a great job with them. He really has. Back in the day when he was Dunellen, and then he took that FHSAA job, and then he landed back in Fort Walton Beach, and I think he's done a tremendous job. The only thing is now he's got to go 6 hours in the time zone change to play a pretty good St. Augustine team.
Yeah, that is the mystery of 5A, and we saw it with Niceville going down to Lakeland, and I've seen it go in reverse. I've seen Lakeland come up to Niceville.
Yeah,
It's just something about when you get past the first 2 rounds in 5A, it's just 5A in particular. All of a sudden, man, that mileage on that bus just it just goes way off the meter. Like you're seeing teams going, like literally, it's one thing you got to change time zones, but man, you start getting into 6 hours.
yeah. Yeah, well, and that's true, Mark. When you take a look, but that's because of the population. It kind of dwindles once you get west of Tallahassee. You don't have many 5A schools until you get to Panama City and Fort Walton Beach. I mean, because there's that long stretch, and you guys have taken it many times on I-10 between. When you go across that river in Chattahoochee, there's nothing for 150 miles.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, but that's what I remember. Orlando Jones a couple of years ago had to go up into the Panhandle and play, and look at this year. That I think that may have hurt Orlando Evans having to go to Pace, because I mean that's still a 7-hour ride. That's a time zone change, and people don't realize that's when they're driving up the same day, so they'll leave like 6 in the morning.
Wow.
Get up there around 2-3 o'clock and kind of unwind, but that takes a lot, even out of 16, 17, and 18-year-old kids to, get off the bus and play those, the day, especially their sleeping is erratic. You don't sleep well on the bus, and you're eating and yeah. So, but I think a lot isn't made of the fact that people don't realize in other states that if you go from Key West to the Pensacola, Alabama line, it's 829 miles. It's not, that's a day long ride in the car, so it's, and I remember back in the early 80s when Miami Columbus had to play Pensacola Woodham, which is no longer a school, but it used to be. And they flew. That's when Alonzo Highsmith was on the team. That's when Dave Shula was on the team, Mike Shula, rather. So, I mean, they flew, but that's a private school. Miami Southridge had a bus when they played up there against Woodham. So, yeah, and those used to be state championship games.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't until 90 when they all convened at University of Florida. But up until then, they used to play those games, the state championship games, at different homes. Now, I think that if you took, and I said this to Coach Cofield, that if you took that Bluntstown versus Pahokee game and moved it to Ocala, it would be fair, because they used to do that. If Pensacola, Washington, or whatever would play in a region final or something, or state, they would move the game to Ocala to Banner Stadium there. So it's because people, it's just, this isn't Georgia. This isn't Alabama or Mississippi where you can make it 5-6 hours, from from bottom to top. Yeah,
Yeah.
this takes a while, and you guys know, being in the Big Bend region, it's tough to you look at this year when and Lincoln used to love to travel, but like this year they came down to Vero Beach and played Carroll City in
Yeah.
the and that's still that's not an overnight drive. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good ride.
Yeah.
Larry, you've been
Go
around for a minute. Now, what did we talked about the traveling of the two teams? Do you think it's better if you play home and home, or play a home game for the state title, or is it better to play a neutral site?
The only drawback is that everybody can't, see all the games. But when you think about it, I mean, I remember a couple years back when Graceville had to come all the way down and play at FIU,
Right.
and Graceville's right at the top of the state. I mean, it's like 8 miles away from the border, and they're playing all the way down south, in Miami. Port St. Joe did the same thing. They came down as well, and they're right there as, you make that, that approach towards the west, and I've been through there many a times. And, I mean, it's just really tough because you have so many rural teams and rural areas, I mean, like even going down to Wakulla, I mean, it's it's south of Tallahassee, but it's still, making that ride at night ain't a picnic,
Yeah,
I
I know.
mean, you know, hanging out in the barbecue at Sop Choppy at 6 o'clock waiting for the game to start. So it's but yeah, there's the whole thing too, the rivalries that used to take place in the state, like Bradenton Southeast and Manatee when Peter Warwick was there and Tommy Frazier, was at there, or Milton and Niceville used to be just a huge rivalry when both teams were pretty good. Lake City, Columbia, and Swanee. You could rob every store in each place on those games. And I've been to some of those contests. That used to be the last game of the season. And no matter where it was, whether it be at Swanee or at Columbia, it'd be packed, and there'd be a caravan of cars wherever they were coming from, and it's like that old Hoosiers movie. It's like you can see all the headlights and miles away, but that type of football doesn't exist very much anymore. I mean, remember the Rickards Godby games and all those games used to be just. I mean, they're still important, but they're not as important as they used to be.
Yeah, I can relate to that because I mean I'm from a rural town and community where currently one of the oldest rivalries in the county and in the state is currently on pause. You're familiar with Avon Park and Sebring, Coach?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Highway 27 at its finest, right?
Yeah, that's where. Yeah, shout out to my hometown, Avon Park.
Are you from Avon Park, home of Hal McRae?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
yes. Willie English and all them boys.
Yeah.
Yes.
They had a good year this year, though. When you think they made the playoffs and everything, and they've done a pretty good job.
But also, Coach, I wanted to ask you a question about this in the system of that. So Avon Park, where I'm from, and other schools here in Tallahassee, even Lincoln, both were district champions, both 6 and 4. However, I guess because of strength of schedule and everything, they both had to be on the road for the playoffs. Now, a lot of coaches around the state of Florida are not too fond of that. A lot of them still believe in the district champ deserves to start the postseason home,
I
the
agree.
runner-up on the road, and maybe you squeeze in an at-large bid. Do you feel like we should find a way to kind of go back to that old school setting?
100%. Because especially that you come from a smaller area like Avon or like Lake Placid or Moorhaven, and you earn a home game, those people support you. And they want to have that home game. They don't want to go into LaBelle, and they don't want to go to all these other places because they earn that. And I agree with you. And, like right now, as well as I do, that Sebring takes everybody from that whole 27. If they get all their kids, and then whatever's left over, you guys get to share it. So Coach LeVar Scott, good man, former Hurricane. His brother's the head coach at Howard, and they've done a good job. But like I said, Coach Albritton at Avon Park, they've done a nice job. And I get a chance to see a lot of those teams. And I agree with you. because even when you go up a little further and you got Frostproof and Bartow and some of those Fort Meade and some of those other smaller areas, I mean, they are the same thing. Small town values. Like on a Friday night, they pack those places. A lot of the old timers who used to play there, they go to those games. You know, they don't want to be having to hit the road because, you know, as you just said, let's say you have a playoff game, Avon Park, they have to go all the way to Pierce, you know, to Perry.
They had to go all the way up to Bradford. They had to go all the way up to Stark, Florida.
And that's a hike.
Yeah. And I think, Lincoln went on the road. And so I definitely see a slight bit of unfairness, especially if you work hard in winning a district title.
I couldn't agree with you more. I 100%. And, you know, and that's the thing too. And, you know, another thing, people lose sight of the fact that a lot of these teams from Tallahassee over all the way to Pensacola, they play a lot of Georgia and Alabama teams every week. It's not like, you know, like in South Florida, when they play an out-of-state team, that's a huge thing, or even in the Orlando area. But you look at Lincoln and a lot of those plays, they'll shoot over to Valdosta, or they'll play Coffee County, or they'll, you know, even if you move west, they go, you know, like you look where Northview is situated, right there on that triangle border between Alabama, Georgia, and Florida, and they're playing Bruton, they're playing all these teams like that every week. And, you know, you guys know from Tallahassee area, Bainbridge is right there. I mean, I mean, you're right there. I mean, you know, I mean, like when I go up there, like I go up there every year for camps, and that night, you know, you watch TV and you have Georgia freaking news, you know. So I mean, it's right there. So and you look at Charlie Ward and some of the other guys that, I mean, they were right, you know, stone's throw. Yeah, I agree. But people lose sight of the fact that they keep talking about how all these other teams from outside the Florida, oh, they beat Florida all the time. But if you look at some of the results, now, to me, that Choctaw game this year against Enterprise was really a surprise because Choctaw was so much better and they lost. And that kind of like, you know, that kind of like had everybody thinking.
I think the separation is facilities at this point. I think most Georgia and a lot of Alabama
pay too.
More money into their programs, and I think a lot of our perennial powers are cash strapped now, and they're going through coaching changes rapidly, and it's very hard to see because you don't see some of the same familiar names you used to see that have been in the system for so long. And then too, we've got, you know, mass coaching exodus. I think it's a lot that's happening right now.
I agree.
A lot of pressure on the high school football game here in the state. It's just really, it seems to be that, you know, you go back just 10 years and things seem to be a lot more competitive. Yeah. Even in the USA Today, we don't have as many teams as we used to.
No. And, well, you know, and Coach Cofield remembers when North Florida Christian for like a 7-year period just dominated.
You didn't have to throw that up, Larry.
I mean, they would play. I mean, they'd have dudes, you know, Ernie Sims and all these guys like that. And Coach Coakley did an awesome job, you know, when he was there. And now it's not like that. They'll make the playoffs, but they're going to get beat early. You know, they're not going to be, you know, and then you have St. John Paul and a lot of these new coming schools that weren't there, you know, like 10, 12 years ago and playing football. But I think it's taken away, definitely. Look at Gadsden County. I mean, Gadsden County was like taking everybody and anybody the last couple of years. I mean, you know, and then, you know, what happened? I mean, they even took the coach from Monroe. So so anything could happen. I felt bad that they, you know, a lot of those kids, you know, couldn't play there this year. And but, you know, you look at Godby, and Godby had a surprising year. Mm-hmm. You know, they had some kids, you know, do real well. I thought Lincoln would do a lot better. I really did. I thought Lincoln, it seems like Mosley's their Achilles, you know, I don't know, for some reason, but a lot of those teams in that Panama City area, people don't realize that they could play football. And look at Milton. Milton had been a doormat for the last 8 to 10 years, and then all those guys from Pine Forest went over there and started, kind of like changing the way things were, and at least they get into the playoffs. But at the end of the day, in the Pensacola area, pace is really, really good. They had one of the best offensive lines. I saw them at the 7-on-7 camp at FSU this summer. They had their line there. They had Ty Wise's son, who was a beast, and they had a lot of other kids. And I was really impressed with a lot of the Pensacola, schools, because it's just the fact that that whole panhandle, they don't get, if it wasn't for you guys, they wouldn't get any publicity at all. A lot of those kids, and that's why I travel every year. I went to West Florida for 4 days, and I went to 2 of their camps and 2 of their 7-on-7s. And at least you get a chance to see some of those kids, those local kids. But even on the days that I went, there were more kids from Alabama and Louisiana than there were from Florida. And, and that happens when you go to FSU too. FSU had more schools from Georgia than they did from Florida, at some of their 7-on-7s. But and I go to those mega camps just so I could. That's the one thing, guys, that I've done this for 55 years, and the reason I did it so long is I do it the way I used to. I never had a computer back in the day. We had to use payphones and stuff to find out stuff. So there was no cell phones. But I think football in the state of Florida, when we lose great coaches, but we still don't lose the kids, because in South Florida, and I can tell you that they're still studs. We lose coaches, but you don't lose. And I talked to, I talked to Ira a lot, and Ira knows the score really well from being in the Panhandle or being in the Big Bend area for a lot of years, and now he's down south, and he can see the difference. He says, even though there's more tight knit communities. You have Childs, and you have all these other areas, and as I mentioned, Madison County and Jefferson and Osceola Christian and some of the, but they're at least tighter communities than they are down south. And because they have that school of choice in Miami-Dade and Broward County, when they say, oh, well, St. Thomas recruits or Chaminade recruits, well, so does Northwestern, and so does Central, and so do all those schools, because you could go because they're under enrolled. So if you have a way to get there, you could come from Jerusalem, and it doesn't matter. As long as you could get there, they don't care. And that's why schools like Northwestern and Central, they'll be perennial loops. They'll be powerhouses forever. Doesn't matter who's coaching there. You could have Teddy Bridgewater, you could have Coach Victrum, or you could have Coach Gibson, who played at FSU, is at Central. Now, that's a big game, and they were smart this week. They moved that game to Saturday, and because Friday night it would have just been another game, because everybody else plays. But Saturday, it's sold out. They'll have 15,000, 12,000 at Trash Pal on Saturday night at 7, and that was a smart thing, even though I think I think that Northwestern's the best team in the state. I really do. Them and St. Thomas would be a good game. I don't really, I'm getting out of the mode of counting IMG anymore, because they really don't have anybody from here. And when I do our rankings, I have to put 10 or 12 of their players who are from Ohio or from California in with our kids, and it's not fair. And I think that Prep Red Zone next year is going to change that up, and I don't think we're going to rank the IMG kids. It's not right. Let them, wherever they come from, let their states rank them. Why should we have to take the place of some of our kids who are bred here? And that's that's just my feeling. But I'll tell you another team to watch out for, and it's going to happen in the state semifinals. Excuse me. Reigns is going to play Sarasota Booker. Booker's loaded.
Booker Tornadoes. Yes.
I'll tell you what, Eddie, Booker's loaded, and people don't realize, but they're loaded. And I think that the Reigns is going to be in for a little surprise.
I look at it. I look at it too. I was impressed with what I saw from Bishop Kenny. Watching them play, they're very big.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of those where I think there's a lot of teams in each classification that could essentially end somebody else's season, and nobody saw them coming.
Yeah.
That leads me into this matchup. Man, when I take a look at what's happening right now in the rural, I know it's still, if to me, it still feels like a work in progress. We're seeing a lot of teams that are vacating for the SSAA now, but I think this matchup coming up, I think I like to think that if things still hold, I think we'll be seeing, this might be a perennial playoff matchup between these two schools. I see both programs going into an upward trajectory right now, especially with Bluntstown and Pahokee coming up. Uh, Man, Bluestein, tell me what you know about Pahokee. We've seen just kind of how in a short period with Coach Wagner taking over Bluntstown, what they've been able to put together. Tell us about the Blue Devils.
They're loaded up. They're well coached. Ricky Gary, former University of Pittsburgh guy, played there. I was telling Coach Cofield last night about Coach Lamont, who's done a tremendous job. Had a chance to watch them. They're very athletic. They're just not a deep team, and that hurt them against Vero Beach. Vero Beach came in there and just slapped them around because Vero Beach is a 7A school with 70 to 80 kids on the roster. Pahokee's got to play a lot of kids both ways, like Bluntstown does. Uh, I think they're very athletic. They've got good size up front. I think that they're going to battle. I just think that the road trip and having Bluntstown having a home game, day after Thanksgiving like that's going to kind of give them the advantage. But I think if you're going to that game, I think you're going to expect to see a lot of talent. And Pahoke's had, remember, Anquan Boldens and all these guys like that through the years. So it's not like they haven't had the talent. It's just that they're not a deep team, and that's probably Bluntstown may wear them down. Come the fourth quarter. But they're coming to play, and it's a big game for them, obviously, because of the fact that they don't, and they play a schedule now. I mean, I know Bluntstown doesn't play the schedule that Pahokee does because there's no way that Bluntstown sees 7A schools like they do, or 6A schools. Remember, they have to feast on the Palm Beach County schools, and they're all kind of big. And then they have that Muck Bowl at the end against Glade Central. And Eddie, you know about that, not
Yeah.
being far away from there. It's a happening, and it was 14-0 Glade Central this year. So yeah, no, I think Mark, it's going to be a it's going to be a competitive game. I think you're going to have a lot of great athletes flying around. I just think that Bluntstown may be a little bit too deep.
Yeah, we're looking at just a number of, and I think Coach Kofi, you and I had this conversation, just counting the number of recruits on the field.
Yeah, it should be loaded out there, man. Watching, I hadn't seen Pokey, but all I've seen is Bunstown. We did the game last week,
Yeah,
and I watched Madison with that tough schedule really mess up. I don't think Bluntstown before last week had anybody that they had to play in the fourth quarter. They, pretty much the game was over, and
right.
they went up they had a tough game.
Yeah.
What, comparing the two, I don't know if you've seen Madison. Comparing
Yeah,
Pahokee with
I've seen them.
Madison, but so comparing both of them, what would you? How do
I
you
just
see that?
think I just think Madison at the end of the year, their schedule was so intense that they kind of wore down. They had a few injuries and they weren't as deep as they were, at the beginning of the year. I just think that, Madison was probably a better football team all around than Pahokee is. The only thing that Pahokee has some size, and they have some kids that can get the job done. It's just that I think Bluntstown is a type of team that, I mean, they're undefeated. Even though they haven't played that schedule that they have, I think that you get to a point after 13 games where even though you may not have had that schedule, the kids believe, they believe that they could get out there and roll that ball out and win every week. And I'm
Yeah,
sure
absolutely.
Eddie, that
Yeah.
that's you get that psyche inside you, no matter what.
Yeah, Bluntstown is a team. I mean, I spoke with some of the players after the game, man. They are just so determined. They are looking to not necessarily make history, but they were saying we're going to change some things up. Some of the players were telling me we're going to reclassify. They want to make a change, and I think that's going to be exciting to see. You know, when they take on Pahokee. But at the same time, Pahokee, man, I mean, their history, their depth. I've grown up in
Yeah.
the area for years, knowing how fast they are. Because keep in mind, Pahokee is still from South Florida. Muck City is South Florida football. And if there's one thing that a lot of teams in the North Florida region have struggled against when getting ready to face top tier talent from South Florida, is the speed and quickness of those teams. And not just Pahokee. This is for the teams in Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade County. Definitely. So I'm looking forward to seeing that too, because Bluntstown is just as fast and just
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. And yeah. Go ahead, Mark. I know you were going to say something.
I just was looking at, and honestly, there's, I love it when people start chatting on the board. We got Bill Israel. Hey, he might know something we don't, but he expecting the defense to really put Amari Thomas. He expecting them to lock him up. I don't know how that's going to play out, but a lot of what I've seen is that especially with especially looking at Pahoke's offense, a lot of what I've seen is just a stellar gameplay by, I think it's Xavier Mitchell at quarterback. Watching him against Taylor County and watching him in a few other games, to me, very much reminiscent of LJ Crumity, who we saw last week, and he was lethal against Bluntstown, especially in that third quarter. This could be something where maybe they're seeing a little bit more of the same. There were some moments where I do think Bluntstown, probably give them another quarter, they may have made the adjustment. But I look at different matchups like that, and I think Pahokee definitely has a strength there at quarterback with a dual threat guy.
But you brought up a great point, because you have a reference point now, Taylor County being an area type of team, a program that you guys are familiar with and a lot of people, and you saw what Pahokee did with them. So that's a good reference point as well. But my only contention about Pahokee is they're not a deep team, and they use a lot of kids on both sides of the ball. And that, and I'm sure the weather will be kind of cooler. It's usually cooler this time of year, so I don't know if that's going to be a total factor, but I know during the summers, and Eddie, you could probably back that up, the heat and humidity wears you down. And that's where Pahokee sometimes has an advantage against a lot of these teams, because they play in it all the time. But I'm not so sure that that's going to be the case. I just think that, Bluntstown's hungry. They want that shot at the Chiefland Hawthorne winner, man. They want that smoke.
Yeah.
I love this about rural football. I think it's going to be great. Go ahead, Eddie.
I was just saying, as far as the weather, the temperature is expected to be somewhere in the mid-30s.
Jeez.
So I think
forget it. Pahokee, they used to that.
Yeah, I think the highest we're looking at is like 38, maybe 41 degrees.
Jeez.
So I think weather can sometimes be a factor, especially if you're a school from down south, like very far down south, and you're not used to playing in this, particular weather as often. It could get to you.
You all got 7 days of snow last year, so we're backing off. That ain't happened here since 1976.
That's where the Bucks were established. Hey,
Austin, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you coming on to the Extra Point Podcast. We're looking forward to bringing you back on again. Definitely want to go over some of your favorite recruits in the area that you'd like to highlight. But yeah, we appreciate, as we coming up on the end of the hour here. We'd love to be able to. I would say probably towards the end of the season, I think we can bring Larry back on.
Just let me know. I'll be there. I'm happy to always do it. Love talking with you guys, Mark, Eddie, Coach. It's always good to see you, Coach Cofield. You know what? We have a history, brother. We have a history.
We go back, man. We go way back.
Yeah, we do. All right, guys. We'll enjoy this week, and we'll reconvene soon.
All right. Thanks.
All right, Coach. Nice meeting you.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Yep.
You too.
All right, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, Larry Bloomstein.
What a treat.
Awesome guy.
That's a treat, man. I've been knowing that guy for a minute. And if you want to know something about high school football in the state of Florida, he's like an encyclopedia. He could just name, because he was probably there. Hey, man, he's been doing this, 55 years. Man, I was in high school when he was doing this, man.
I was
This
about to say, Coach, aren't y'all around the same time and been in the same moments?
I was coaching most of the time. Larry's been in the news for that long. He's he used to be big in the recruiting in the state of Florida too at one time. So we did some things. We had some projects we worked together on. Man, he's a special guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to getting him back on. Let's go ahead and jump back into it. We got, man, a couple more fit matchups to get through before we wrap things up. Port St. Joe taking on Holmes County, and man, this one down in the Joe on the beach. Holmes County really, this was one of the teams we talked about that was so close to making the playoffs. Really, a touchdown separated them, probably from a playoff berth. But man, I really like what I see with with Port St. Joe going into this game. Tiger Sharks look awfully tough.
Yeah, Mark. This matchup, these are two teams that are very familiar with each other, and I, the game is and let me make it's at Port St. Joe.
Yeah,
Well, that makes a big difference to me. Playing home, anytime this time of year you playing at your own place, man, it's a big deal. But it's not they. These two teams are very familiar with each other. Should be a nice matchup. Holmes kind of team to me is one of the teams that was just as close to make being having an awesome season at 6-5. Like we said at the beginning of the season, they had like 3 or 4 games where they lost by 1 or 2 points. Man, could have been a very special season, and look for this matchup to be pretty special.
You said it, Coach. I mean, the winner of this one will advance, I believe, to the championship game. There were several teams. Yes, this journey in the Florida Invitational of the Rule bracket was pretty quick, in my opinion. Went by, and I think FHSAA ought to look into maybe reconstructing it a bit different next year, like maybe adding 1A and Rule together. But props out to Holmes County and Port St. Joe. This matchup, a chance to pursue championship. I'm excited for both of these teams. And to who wants it more to continue their season and to make a trip down to Ocala at the Villages.
yeah, this one's gonna be a rematch, and I think, man, if I had the ability, I definitely want to see this one in person too. A rematch, I think, from week number 2, somewhere. Yeah, I think it was week number 2, 9-8 in
Yeah.
favor of the Blue Devil. I mean, excuse me, of Port St. Joe. So a lot of what this is gonna come down to is just understanding that Port St. Joe is at home. This one was a road win for the Tiger Sharks earlier in the year. Low scoring affair, so we know defense is going to be a huge factor in this game. But yeah, things could be leaning the Tiger Sharks' way, just given the fact that they're at home. And we've seen Holmes County really kind of turn a corner as of late in their program. But man, Tiger Sharks just due to history, I think they're used to playing in the playoffs and making some deep runs. Uh, yeah, I think the atmosphere is probably going to be great, but yeah, definitely going to have our eyes on this one as we get to our other fit game. Childs, the Timberwolves heading down I-10 to take on Tate and the Aggies. Man, this was another one I wish I could have gotten to as well.
Mark, this is going to be a great matchup. Timberwolves, just like Holmes County, just that close to making the playoffs and maybe making a run. They got better and better as the season went on. A couple of things didn't go their way during the regular season, and they're getting the opportunity now to play some extra football and got a chance to get maybe not the FHSA title, but they're really in good position to get the fit title.
Yeah, Coach. I mean, any opportunity to pursue a postseason championship is a big opportunity and something that could give your program a chance moving forward to, progress it more. And we saw how Childs was performing against Lando Lakes, and how determined this team was playing with speed on offense and everything, making turnovers happen as well on defense. I like this matchup for them. Tate, real good football team, found a way to pull away from Bertram Trail. Had Bertram Trail won that game against Tate, this game, Childs could have another home game. So this would be, a home game for them, but instead they're going to be on the road with a chance to also make history. Mark, if correct me if I'm wrong, but they now have 8 wins, which I believe is the most they've had in a single season. Childs has an opportunity at 9 wins. Am
Yeah,
I
that's what
correct?
Coach Reagan's was saying. And
Yeah.
I think for the Timberwolves, man, this game could have been a lot worse against Land O'Lakes last week. I think they left like 3 or 4 touchdowns on the board, as we call that game last week. Um, I think a lot of what this will come down to is that they'll play a team that they're very evenly matched up with. And I think if Childs can cut down on the mistakes, man, this team really could have an opportunity to make history by heading down to the villages to play for, I believe, for a very favorable matchup against a team from the opposite side of the bracket in the FIT championship.
Yep, absolutely. Once again, this is the 4A through 7A Florida Invitational bracket. Childs representing Class 5A, and I believe Tate is Class 6A. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing a matchup between two teams that felt like they could have been in their main respectful state classification playoffs for both 5A and 6A.
Yeah, the running game was going. I really like. I know. I feel like Gavin Ford and Cade Fryer, that connection, man, it was so close to just going bananas. And it just, there were certain things that just kind of kept them out off of rhythm. It was a little chilly that night. I'm not sure if weather was a factor, but I definitely like the Timberwolves' chances in this game. It'll be in a tough road environment, but yeah, I think Timberwolves got a great opportunity. We already had a chance to go over this one. This one will be on hand for Bluntstown versus Pahokee. This is for a shot at a berth in the state championship game. On the opposite side of that bracket, Hawthorne taking on Chiefland. That's going to be a big one as well. But Bluntstown unblemished after nearly falling to Madison County. Man, that game came down to the absolute just man, I don't know what's smaller than a wire, but I mean it was that close. Looking at how Pahokee matches up, they're going to be facing another dual threat quarterback. We already had a chance to talk with things about Pahokee's just overall athleticism with Larry Bloomstein. Shout out to him for coming on the Extra Point podcast. But yeah, this one definitely going to be in our crosshairs as we will be on hand for that one. Man, another great matchup.
You said it, Mark, man. I'm excited for this one. Two storied programs from rural communities and areas, different parts from the state of Florida, one from south, one north. It's going to be a game of which one comes out. You have to ask yourself, okay, this team is going to be fast. We got to be faster. They're going to be strong. We got to be stronger. And I think, we're going to see what that is like. And yes, granted, we had Coach earlier talk to us about, Pahokee, about having some players playing both sides of the ball. Madison County did the same in a sense against Bluntstown as well. And they held their own for a while, even in that comeback attempt. So I'm sort of interesting to see what Pahokee is going to be like as they make the journey yet again back up to North Florida, but going further into the Panhandle.
Well, one thing, you said the weather going to be 38 degrees.
It's gonna be cold, yeah.
That's going to make a big difference. It's going to. You can't ride from 70, 80 and come in at 38, 40. That's going to be a big difference. You got to get used. You got to get used to playing in that cold weather. Your hands don't feel the same. Your body, you have to adjust to the temperature. It's vice versa. And I think it was in 2007 we played all our playoff games in colder temperature, 40 degrees, 40 plus. We went to Orlando and it was 80 something degrees, and it literally changed. Our kids had to get really adjusted playing in that hot weather. It goes both ways, and I think that's going to be a big difference. If I'm the coach at Pahokee, I ain't telling my kids the temperature. I'm just saying, hey, let's play. Because once you get going, you warm up. But it's a whole lot different warming up from 30 degrees, 48 degrees, 40 degrees, as opposed to playing in 70-degree weather.
Yeah,
and the temperature drops, and as night progresses, the temperature also drops.
Yeah. It'll be another packed house either way, guys. Looking forward to the game. Great atmosphere, and then I think there'll be quite a few extra Pahokee fans that'll be braving the trip, making the trip with to support the Blue Devils. Pahokee fans travel very well. Um, but yeah, we appreciate everybody for rocking with us during this edition, this special Thanksgiving edition of the Extra Point. I want to wish everybody a happy Turkey Day. Before we depart, we definitely want to thank I would say we definitely want to honor a specific person who was very instrumental in helping Four Quarters Online get off the ground. That's Miss Mietta Armstrong. She did a great job helping us just in our financial planning. She made a living out of just helping different minority businesses grow. And so over the past several weeks, we lost her, and we're definitely thinking about her and holding her in our memory. Just a great, great, phenomenal person that helps so many people. So her business, Armstrong and Associates, did a great job and was very instrumental in our media days and several of our ventures. So we definitely want to take a moment and honor her memory. But that will do it for this week's edition of the Extra Point. I want to wish everybody a happy and very safe holiday. I don't care. Eat what you want. Save the leftovers. Keep the leftovers. Get rid of them. I don't care. But definitely be grateful. We'll catch everybody next week where we'll be going over. Hopefully, we'll have a couple of teams in the state finals.